on the road to recovery in Castle Rock, Colorado. Live from Millville, New Jersey, I'm on the road to recovery. We're on the road to recovery in Morgantown, West Virginia at Mountaineer Field. And live in Scranton, Pennsylvania, I'm on the road to recovery. Here I am on the road to recovery from Berlin, Maryland. Hey, from Caseville, Michigan, I'm on the road to recovery. I'm on the road to recovery at Ann Arbor, University of Michigan. I'm on the road to recovery in Pueblo, Colorado, and I'm about to share Luke Edwall's story with you. He is an amazing man, Victory in Recovery. He's running Victory Outreach in Pueblo, Colorado, and he's using his story and his experience to help so many people find a new way of life, Victory in Recovery. This is Luke's story.
Marijuana was the very first substance I ever consumed that was, mood or mind altering in any way, stimulating, whatever. It was marijuana. To be honest, everywhere we go, there's marijuana in the air. So from all our neighbors are smoking it, and we're trying to have a good environment where they're separated from those things. And when we open our windows to let it breeze in, it fills the house with marijuana. My first charge was a minor in possession of tobacco. My experience with heroin started after being prescribed OxyContin after a knee surgery. Then I tore a muscle and the doctors gave me more OxyContin. And I ended up finding out that I liked them when I took a little extra. And so I had 3 different doctors prescribing the same thing. And that led to the addiction where I was finally getting them on the street. There was doctors prescribing pills like candy. And the problem with that is you got all these kids in their parents' cupboards eating their Vicodins and their Percocets and their OxyContin, and there's this like thing that's inside of our psyche that pills are harmless because they're prescribed by doctors, and so they're legal if they're prescribed. They can't hurt me because it's from a doctor for pain, and so there's this kind of it's been destigmatized that it's a bad thing. And so they're giving them out, and all these kids got hooked on pills. And even adults, they're all getting hooked on pills. Now, when they drew back on that, there was a doctor and he got in trouble, and when the pill flow stopped, it was a perfect opportunity for heroin to hit the street. Now when you take that and you combine that with the fact that we've legalized marijuana here, and now the Mexican don't have any type of marijuana sales, they've got to find a new way to make money. So what do they bring to us? They bring us heroin, they bring us meth, they bring what will, and so this city it's right on that heroin highway, they call it. It's right, it's a little kind of hotbed for gang activity and different like drop-offs and stuff like that, so you got a huge heroin problem here. And the youth they're starting on pills, but they're switching to heroin really quick. I was a heroin user. I went to jail for about 2 months, and when I got out, I wasn't accustomed to the amount I used to do. My tolerance was down, and I went over to my parents' house, used their restroom. I turned the shower on like I was going to take a shower, and 45 minutes later my dad knocked the door down because I was passed out on the floor and a mess. He said it took him a few minutes to shake me and to get me awake, and they loaded me into the truck and they were going to take me to the hospital, and on the way to the hospital I told him, I said, "Dad, I'm not going to die, I'm okay, I don't want to go to the hospital." And he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" He said, "You're killing yourself." And I said, "Dad, I want to change. I want to change." And he picked the phone up real quick and he called Victory Outreach down here. We drove down from Colorado Springs, and they took me in right away. And at the time, I was so close to death, I'm sure. I couldn't hear. It took a day for my hearing to come back. I was just like deaf. And so they were all talking to me and telling me what it was about, and I couldn't even hear them. So they just let me lay down. And what was crazy is when I went to lay down, I said, I was a backslider my whole life, so I knew God when I was younger. I was trained the right way. You know, my parents taught me Bible and taught me how to live, taught me integrity and character. But I walked away from it. I traded it in for partying and other things that were more enticing, the things of the world that were enticing. And so I laid down on that bed in the Victory Outreach Recovery Home here in Pueblo. And I said, God, if you're real, I want to know that you're real. So prove yourself to me and don't let me get sick. I've been through withdrawals for I don't know how many times. I said, don't let me go through withdrawals. And 3 days later, after, you know, when I would normally be in the worst of the withdrawals, I was fine. I got up, I ate with the guys, and I went back and laid down. And if you know anything about withdrawals, you can't sit still, but you don't have the energy to do anything. You're sick, you're throwing up, it's just misery, it's hell. And I didn't have a single symptom, but maybe a little, I wanted to do something, I wanted to finally live. So I said, okay, God, you know, I'll take that, I'll stay here for a year. I said, I'll do the year, I committed to a year, I'll do that. And I think that moment I was delivered from heroin addiction, but I think there's still a process that has to happen of healing inside. And what God revealed to me was that one of my biggest problems was I was unable to forgive myself and let the past go. And what God had said to me is He said, I died on the cross for those sins. And if you aren't willing to forgive yourself, then you're telling me that what I did on the cross was not good enough for you. It could be good enough for those other people, but for you, it was not good enough. That's what you're telling me. And in that moment, I broke. And I finally just felt this weight come off me, this weight that I had been carrying for so many years, all the masks, all the baggage, all the things people told me I was and convinced me I was, and it all just went away. And what He told me is that when I died on the cross, the last words I said is, "It is finished." And in that moment, I felt it. I just felt that, you know, that deliverance, that change. And at that moment, I can remember sitting on that floor in the dirty carpet with my tears all over it. And I knew that moment that I would never be the same. I'd never go back. That it just wasn't an option anymore. And from then, you know, I've spent a lot of time in the Word, being trained by great men, men of integrity who teach character and the true biblical principles, a way a man should live their life. And living with these guys, they all understand that I was where they were just a few years ago. So, you know, when I tell them it's like this and like this, I think it's easier to receive from somebody you know who's actually been there versus somebody who has no idea. You know, you write them off like, how do they know? They don't know what I'm feeling. So, invariably, anybody who comes into our recovery home and stays more than a week or two meets Jesus. You just don't not see it. There's an anointing on the home, on the process. There's a purity to it. It's not all polluted by government money and statutes and different things it's pure. We don't force anybody into any type of, you know, it's all by choice, but like it says in John 15 that we didn't choose Him, He chooses us. So He'll choose someone, call them out and bring them into the home. And it's amazing just to see God at work in their lives. Able to let go of the stuff of your past and finally move forward. That's when you really feel that freedom. What we've got is the first 12 months is an inpatient recovery rehab structure. And then we have a transitional home for people that are ready to kind of, you know, get a job, start, you know, saving money up to get their feet underneath them. So we don't just cut them loose. There's a fellow right now in our home who's living underneath the tree. And we basically said, you know, God's got a plan for your life. And he told us later that his friend told him that day that God had told him that he would find a house that day, a place to live. And he'd been living under that tree for almost a year.
Hey Luke, thanks so much for sharing your story with Recovery Army, and we're on the road to recovery in Pueblo. I'm on my way to every state in America. Not everybody's path to recovery is the same. There's a lot of different paths. Many people travel a different journey, but the journey, the destination really is recovery, is a new way of life. Thank you so much, Luke, for sharing your story with us. And from Pueblo, Colorado, I'm Michael De Leon, and we'll see you on the next episode of On the Road to Recovery.